Nancy Andrews, and she's very cool. I got to her. I was introduced to her from my friend Mike Long, and Nancy. A lot of you know or have heard of StomperNet with Brad Fallon and Andy Jenkins, and Nancy was in that program originally, and Nancy essentially, where's Nancy? Nancy essentially taught them a thing or two about some search engine stuff, a whole lot of things or two. And she only started her business in 2004? 2004. So that's pretty exciting. And she started with $500 and a Yahoo Stores account. And she said, okay, well, don't get too excited. I think now you need about $2,000 to start what I'm going to show you. And within a couple months, she was, I think it was like 2 to 3 months, she was first page on Google. Very, very competitive marketplace she chose to go after, which is the golf niche. And now she's like beating out $100 million plus behemoths. And she's, just literally flying underneath the radar, and she's coming to share what she's doing with the search engine stuff. And I got a preview of her slides and what she's sharing, and I trust me, you guys are going to be blown away with this stuff. So let's welcome Nancy Andrews. All right. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nancy Andrews, and I am here to share some of my techniques with you. And I kid you not, when I'm done, you're going to be able to go back to your PC. And if not today, or if not tomorrow, you're going to start implementing these, and within a very short period of time, you're going to see some real measurable results. So with that, I'm going to get started because I've got a lot to fit in actually a pretty short period of time. When I got started, really about 2.5 years ago, and I have to tell you that being in the internet world, for those of you who are mature in this world, I think it's kind of like dog years. Every year is a lot longer because everything moves so fast in the internet world compared to the standard corporate world. I mean, I spent over 20 years in the corporate world, and I never saw the pace of change that I see on a monthly basis in the internet world. Well, 2.5 years ago, the internet was a completely different place than it is now. And I'm sure 2.5 years from now, I could say the same thing again. 2.5 years ago was actually a lot easier. I kid you not. The big guys, the big companies, were pretty much ignoring the internet. I mean, sure, they had sites up. Some of them had big sites. But if they thought to do anything more than rank on their own name, they were using pay-per-click. Why? Because 2.5 years ago, pay-per-click was a lot cheaper than it is today. Well, they woke up. And they now realize that getting natural positions on the search engines is fantastic because it's free once you're there. And so whether they're just augmenting their traffic from pay-per-click or replacing it, they're there and they're going to stay. So some of them have whole departments with people working full-time on what you and I, the little guy, I guess we better not do that, the little guy, right, has to squeeze in with all the other things we have to do in a day. But don't worry about it. In my market, as Yannick said, there's some big companies. Golfsmith clears over $300 million of revenue a year. Edwin Watts is a privately held company, so they're a little bit harder to tell, but I recently saw a press release where they claimed that they were doing over $300 million a year. Golf Galaxy is a little bit smaller. Well, they're the runts. They're only $100 million plus a year, but they're on a real aggressive growth plan. Okay, they're big, and I'm not. Okay, it's just little old me. We run a small organization. We have a handful of staff, and we take these guys on. We have the golf collection, which Yannick mentioned. We've been #1 across the search engines for the term golf gifts for almost 2 years now. We're taking on the guys in golf accessories as well. We have a second golf site called Golf Shop Search, and that ranks above the fold on page 1 for Google for the term golf shops. I've been moving it on golf clubs recently. We're on page 2 of Google for that. So you may be out there wondering, how does she do it? Well, no, you don't. You're really out there wondering, how the heck can I do it? Yeah, and that's what we're here to talk about. Here's what you got to understand. Those big companies, I mean, they got deep pockets, and they can hire a lot of people. But they don't move all that quick. They're big, and they're slow. You know, no one ever gets fired in the corporate world for not taking a risk. Let me say that again, because that's really important. You never get fired in the corporate world for not taking a risk. Well, you can get fired real fast for taking a risk. So what do we have going for us? Well, we are small, so we can be fast and nimble and ninja-like. We can implement things long before they do. Okay? We don't need to take it to committee. We don't need to get anyone's approval. We just need to implement the stuff that works right now. So I'm going to get into first some trends that are going on that I see, and then we're going to talk about techniques that relate to these trends. But I couldn't help but notice with the information that Yannick shared this morning that there's a pretty wide array of abilities. Some people are just getting into the internet market. They're just thinking about getting into the internet market. So what I wanted to do is just cover very, very quickly kind of a primer about search engine optimization, just to provide a foundation for those who really haven't learned very much about search engine optimization yet. And the nice thing about search engine optimization, or SEO, is it's really not that difficult. You know, I told you that I had 20 years experience in the corporate world, and when I walked away from it, I walked away as Vice President of Finance for a $300 million a year software company. But before I had any of that success, I was lucky enough to have a dad who was a success in the corporate world himself. And he sat me down before I ever got started, before day one. And he said, Nancy, I'm going to give you some advice that's going to help you a lot. So I'm thinking, cool. So I sit down, and he says, there's only two things that can keep you from being a success in this world. He goes, the first one is being too dumb. And I'm sitting here thinking, boy, number two better be damn good. And he goes, the second thing is being too smart. And congratulations, you have nothing to worry about. And I think about that a lot with SEO. Okay, the only way you're going to get in trouble is by being too dumb, which is just not having enough knowledge, or by trying to be too smart and adopting cheap little tricks that might work for a little bit, but can come up and hurt you in the long run. So with that kind of stated, let's just talk about how simple search engine optimization really is, because there's a lot of gurus out there that like to imply it's really hard. You better know their secrets. You better let them gaze into the crystal ball for you, and that's just hooey. You don't need that. Okay, there's only two parts to search engine optimization. The first part is on-page optimization, and all that really means is sprinkle a few of your keywords on your page. Now, that may actually be the part of the page the human eye sees, the content part, or it may be in the title tag or the description tag. But you don't have to get carried away with on-page optimization. In fact, on the body of your page, most experts agree that having a keyword density of 2.5% to 5% is all you need. Okay? That's it. That's on page. That's all you needed to know. And the reason why it's all that simple is because the real battle in SEO is not fought with on-page optimization. It's fought with off-page optimization.